Well, hello everybody. It is Tuesday, and if you find yourself here, then congratulations, you have fulfilled your destiny, at least for the present. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It is Tuesday, so this is a second look. Which, depending on your point of view, we all need one because holy cow, Batman, it's getting weird out there. So, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it as I'm hit all the buttons and as the bus pulls out. If there's anyone back there, well, try to help them on board as they come on board. But anyway, thank you for being here. We speak favor over all of us because we are indeed favored. And many times you don't even realize how favored you are. But anyway, nothing missing, nothing broken. Yes, we practice witchcraft, the occult here. We even practice a lot of the tenets of a lot of the major religions. We call
Mhm.
those things that be not as though they are. We speak what we create. We are, in fact, gods and goddesses. And so, yeah, we got the whole gamut. We love you all.
Yeah.
So, my lovely co-host, Miss Trina Phoenix, and then our other co-host, Miss Jennifer Roberts. Good to see you both. How are y'all been? How you been, Trina?
I've been wonderful, busy working, but wonderful.
You look fabulous.
Well, thank
You
you.
too.
So do you.
Yeah, hey, listen, you wear it like you own it,
Yeah.
and you wear it well. A little old-fashioned, but I don't care. Little Rod Stewart there for everybody. Hello, Miss Jenny. How are you, dear?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. We've been celebrating Rosie's birthday, my
Oh,
daughter's
happy
birthday.
birthday, Rosie.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. So she's always she's all of the two, so she's 22nd of the second 2000. So she always matches with the year once it gets into February. So she's 25, and she's had the most awesome sort of birthday build up and still the build down now. She's having a lovely, lovely, lovely solar return. So it's been good.
That's
25 is
awesome.
a good year. Well, it
Yeah.
is cool. I mean, it really is. Your 20s go by so quickly. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Powerful time.
Yeah. I look back and, yeah. Anyway, she'll find that out.
yeah,
My
yeah.
daughter
She
too.
So what
I've
is
had
she
a
doing?
25-year-old too. That's
You have
interesting.
one? Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, we do that
we both have a
synchronicity,
25.
don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and they're both daughters, aren't they? But
Yeah, and
Rosie's
it's your
daughter. Yeah,
firstborn and
so
it's my baby, which is
yes,
the beginning
the
and the end.
opposite.
Yeah.
So yes, she really is finding that out, but I don't know. It speaks to where she is astrologically right now. But Rosie's such a warrior, and she's such a warrior for self-healing. And she's done so much of that, so much transmuting. And actually, she's coming into her own, and it's just so lovely to see. So she's actually if you could speak to your 20-year-old self and say, you're beautiful. Your skin is so plump and your spirit is so high and you're bouncy,
Hmm.
and it's okay to be radical and it's okay to be apathetic. Just go with it. She's starting to say that to herself in real time at the time now. So she's given herself such freedom to really find a style, and she's got a whole UK woodland tattoo sleeve going on. So she had a
Hmm.
pigeon put on there for her birthday. Um, and then she's got a sea life on the other end, so very Pisces. So she's just blossoming, and I think Trina's in the same place with her
Yeah,
daughter.
she is. She has
Yeah.
really come into her power, and boy, that girl manifests like I've never seen before. And yeah,
Yeah.
she is just really. This has been a real strong power year for her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Rosie should hopefully go through the same because wow. And I think a lot of part of the success of our children is that we teach them that authenticity is their most
Mm,
powerful superpower. So don't conform. Find out what is you. What are you? How do you fire up? What's
yeah.
what's exciting for you? Be that, do that, because typically that's going in alignment with authentically what your spirit and soul have come here to be. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's a huge part of it. And it seems to be really working beautifully.
Well, we
yeah,
hope.
these are hitting them so nicely, but
Yeah.
only because they're doing the work to receive them. So all power to them. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
lovely actually.
Well, we
Yeah.
hope that they find that. We first of all hope
Yeah.
that they have the time. I got a sense that if you think about if you were 25 in the year 1925, imagine what it would be like, and because the world was on the precipice of a world war, had just come out of a world war and was about to be going into another one. Yeah. So, well, it's the adventure, and
Yeah.
I'm happy for them all, for yours, Trina, and for Eugenia as well. It's what about? It's the adventure. Hello,
Mhm.
Yeah.
everybody in the chat room. I see it is going. So,
Mhm.
um, thought we would do the first thing today is, you know, as I was saying yesterday in the video, and tomorrow I'm doing a video on, and it's just my theory that we're witnessing the death of the human soul. And that has very negative ramifications for the rest of humanity. And so tune in tomorrow because I specifically point to technology. Technology is killing the human soul. It is robbing us of our imagination. It's robbing us of our dreams. And it is imprisoning us like no other time. And uh, Colleen sent this to me this morning. I want to get y'all's reaction. So, we are living in what is called now the mega revolution, and mega is everywhere. Um, the acronym in this case, as we know, it was Trump's calling card, Make America Great Again, but that is a modern day interpretation of a word, and you can look up the word yourself. Just do your eschatology on the eschatology,
Maggots.
etymology, I believe. No. Oh,
Etymology.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, mega is a derivative of the word magi.
And magus. Magus, magi.
Magi is mega also stands for witch,
Mhm.
sorceress,
Mhm.
and if you notice what's going on as the wizard is now taking over and the spell is being cast, you see his key in the occult world where I would place Musk. Um, Elon only comes out in black. Elon only wears the black mega hat. Now, you can take a lot of things, but this is the interesting thing.
Mhm.
The implications of what's going on now is having an upheaval effect. And it's really interesting because the vast majority who I would say are avid Trump supporters are very much in line with the Christian faith. And they have no idea what's happening. In fact, I see mega being banners proclaimed in churches across the United States, and I'm thinking these people have no idea of the wow of the spell that's being cast because they're bringing it right into their midst.
The
So
deception would be so great. Even mine elect would be deceived. Yes.
So what do y'all think on that? And by the way, thank you, Colleen. Love you, darling. S. Lee, thank you. There's a lot of Nina. How are you? He is the dark AF. Some people are saying. So I'd like to get your two insightful things on that. And then Jenny, we need to go to the forest and just kind of get ourselves eased into that. But so for just tipping out the ball out there. So thoughts. Is America under the spell of a new wizard? You can see the effect of the magic,
Yeah.
and do you think there's anything substantial behind a term used that was ancient in its origins.
Yes.
Very ancient, and it's coming back around, and it speaks to people of religions of because it's born of the same nutrients, it's born of the same alchemical components in that it speaks to the same spirit within where they've been believers in things outside of themselves and characters and people who are leaders within the churches. It speaks very much energetically. It's the same energies that are put out with anything because it works. You know, it's not because it's good or bad, it's just it works. From a marketing point of view, this type of magic works because a lot of the population is already primed to receive and be receptive without too much question to that kind of magic because they've been conditioned to receive that kind of magic through their religion. So their body doesn't sort of have an immune system to it, neither does their spirit. Um, and so that helps manifest these ancient energies that are coming forward. But I don't think this energy is that ancient. I think this energy is very, very old. Um, but I think it came in with the hijack that we see today of the societies that we've built up today. And I think it's been a rolling manifestation of people in power fighting each other to just pip the post. And at this point, we're seeing a new god with an old consciousness pip the post. So but it's a
Do you
huge
think, though, that there's
transition.
anything to the fact that we have an acronym? I saw Gilbert, he says maybe we're reading more into it than needed. I can see that point. But it is also, I think, more than just a little coincidental that a word that in an ancient
Oh,
translation
yes.
would be
The,
magic. I mean, that's
yeah,
what we're
yeah. And the
saying,
pollen.
You
magic.
know what I also learned about that word is that in the indoctrination of the different levels of satanic worship, the highest level is called the magus.
Well,
It's
that
Yes.
also is true for even outside I would say in a non-satanic or non-altered religious position. I don't consider the occult to be satanic.
No,
oh,
no,
oh,
100.
well,
It's just it.
well, it is what you label it to be. So if people
Yeah.
are worshiping Satan, it's satanic. If they're worshiping Lucifer, it's Luciferian. It's whatever you are. If you're
And if they
worshiping Odin,
worship
Odin.
Jesus, it's what
Yeah,
but hey,
worship
Jesus never was any of that.
A
Jesus. Yeah,
cult.
it's what you
It's like,
worship.
but he was
You
never a
know,
Christian, so
He wasn't
what
named
we
Jay.
don't understand is we create reality with what we think.
yeah,
So
we do.
whatever you believe, that will manifest in the reality that you exist in. Period. There's also the collective, and a lot of that's scripted, and there's nothing you can do to change any of that. And that's where you have to learn how to allow and control the emotions. Because if the emotions lose balance, any of your four bodies lose their balance, they have the
Yeah.
ability to get in and control you by what you perceive and what you're thinking. So, thinking is simply receiving the information coming in from the matrix. So, you're plugged in. What
So
are
you think
you
thinking can have it can be unattached to emotion?
feeling is a product of emotion. That's why the soul and spirit are so
Yeah, but
linked.
thinking is the catalyst for any of that. If you didn't have thinking,
Yes.
you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have. It's just an interesting
Yes.
thing, It's like what color is your soul?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I had
But
someone write me and they said, I'm black, but you brought up a point that I'd never even thought of. This person said for decades, I never thought about this. When I go
yeah,
over, he said, you're right. If I have a culture that goes way back, well, it would seem to be a tendency that that would be a destination, you know,
yes. It's so funny, I
these
don't know
things.
what the color of my soul is, but people have seen my aura. So I've heard that. And then I've also heard when Brian passed away, that was one of the first things that he expressed to me was Trina, the color and the light of you is so beautiful here. But he didn't tell me what it looked like, but he just said, your light here
Dig
is
that.
so beautiful. So there's the soul, the oversoul, your higher self is existing in the higher realms all the time. It never comes down here. You're just a fractal of that. So you're existing
Th-
as a fractal of that
Then I
consciousness.
often think that is it really the soul we're talking about, or is it the spirit? See, I'm a person that deep down believe I know I'm a spirit. It's debatable whether I have
Yes.
a soul or not, but I know I'm a spirit, you know?
You know what I think, Wayne? I think the soul is the magnetic part, the part that forms matter. So it's like a spaceship. You can take, create a vessel to go and experience on a planet. So it's like a spaceship and it carries all the templates of where you're going to go and what you're going to be. But I think that the ultimate fire of creation and the passion to have the will to want to do it is spirit. So I'm with you with that. I think the spirit is the ultimate. But the soul, without the soul, you wouldn't have a spaceship to go and navigate in different points of creation. And that's what it was shown to me. Like the spirit is the sending force of action. And the soul is the receptive one that's receiving the information through thought process. So I see it's a total a merging of power. But to me, the higher level of all of this is definitely fire. It's spirit. It's full on spirit.
Still remember the scripture, Hebrews 4:12. And it says that the word of God is more powerful than any two-edged sword, able to cut asunder the soul from the spirit, the bone from the marrow. And the key point in that whole verse in there is that it's an insight, and in this particular case, depending if you believe it, that apparently the soul and the spirit can be divided.
Yeah, I've experienced that. I feel I've seen that. But
Me
as
too.
Trina said, I'm seeing the soul more being because I know I know I know it for me. I know that I have souls in other timelines, other realms.
Yeah.
I don't just seem to have just one, and I
Mhm.
don't feel like as Trina's talking, she was channeling through me that, the soul of the feet, we do, like that mega word, mega, magus, we do have power in words and the way that words are made up and
Mhm.
how everything is reflected in on everything. So we do say the soul of the feet, and we ground to the soul. I feel the soul is what keeps you attached to the reality that part of your spirit is experiencing. So the soul is part of the nature for me, which is why I feel grounded in this reality when I walk barefoot on my soles. I connect with the soul of the space that I'm anchored in here. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? It's
Yeah,
so
I
that's
see
my.
that
And then
too,
we have
Jenny. That's
we
what I
eat the
see. I see
food.
the soul is like a grounding rod that goes through the
Yeah.
whole energy body. And it was funny, they showed it to me. They were like, sound creates reality and creates life. And that energy is connected by the oversoul, which is the blending between the spirit and material realms. Because there has to be a dropping down. And I see
Yeah.
the soul as the column anchoring of the electric light orchestra because it's an electric light orchestra. It's so crazy. It's a song and it's music, and your organs even make sound. And it's this electric light orchestra that you plug into with your spirit, and it goes through soul to develop into a personification, an ID. And it's a memory keeper too. It carries
Yeah.
all the memories. And I see different souls for myself
Yeah.
as well, Jenny. Yeah.
Which is why I don't feel that, like animals and plants and stuff, I do feel they have that because they're anchored in. And
Yes.
so if we on plants will, like the babushkas in Russia, plants will, even though they've been irradiated, see what's lacking in the human, just like fungus does in a tree, and it will ground what it needs for the human that has peed on it and given it the nitrates that it needs. So doing all of that. So when you spoke about the sword that can disconnect you, spirit from soul and soul from spirit, vice versa, we see people with processed foods. We see people disconnected from what grounds them. They're not eating soul food. We call it soul food for a reason because it comes from the ground. You put it all in one pot, and whether it's Jamaican, African, English dishes, it's soul food and it's from the ground, and so that it feeds. So I feel like there's all ways of using that sword as a magi to disconnect people from the true reality that they could experience that they're anchored into. Because then you've got people like us, the world's on fire right now, but we all in here can go outside and find beauty and find a way to ground and find a way to see that also there's this perceived reality somebody's trying to put into my consciousness, but actually what I see outside with my own sight and what I feel is grounding. It's beautiful. So I think that's how we can walk through these energies differently because we are walking with the soul, the
I
nature
would
that's
say
here.
a very small percentage of humans are, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
We talk here
smaller.
each week, and it really it's sometimes for a lot of people it's kind of well it's so esoteric it has no reality in everyday life.
Yeah.
And because the people who I meet at the store, the people I encounter, they have no understanding on that. And I guess it's we have these moments that where we can come in here and discuss the dynamis of the logos. I believe that if you know what that means in Greek, it is the
Love.
dynamics of the word. And, dynamis meaning spoke,
Knowing.
actually means explosion. Uh,
Oh, wow.
it's where we get the word dynamite from.
Nice.
Yeah. So dynamis, and then the logos is Greek for the word, the
Mhm.
spoken word.
Yeah.
So there you
Mhm.
go. And then I could get
I
really,
like
you could get into the rhema of the dunamis of the logos, and that just then means the rhema is the light that comes forth from within, and it illuminates the dynamics of the written word, the spoken word. I was a preacher at one time, but
Mhm.
I
and a
wouldn't have
teacher.
guessed it.
But anyway, what was
Wow.
that, Jenny?
I wouldn't have guessed it, I'm saying, isn't it? You
No,
don't
no,
you
not even close to it. Not
I
even
don't
would.
close.
I
at
could
all.
see that. I can see that.
Uh, it's always the thing that I love is that in my journey, I was this morning I was busy doing some things, and it's a great time to kind of do the self-talk meditating, because a lot of times I'm here by myself, except for Bentley. Bentley's getting used to that. But
Mhm.
some of the best discussions I have are for the discussions that what I'm speaking, what I'm thinking. And then I guess I could say it would be my soul that would then hear what my spirit is thinking, and so my soul takes it in, and that's where the debate and or the revelation comes in. It's like, oh wow,
It's so beautiful. The more you expand your consciousness, the more you can resonate with new frequencies.
yeah.
And when you align to those new frequencies, you get the information that aligns with those frequencies. So that's why
Yeah.
we're always exploring consciousness. Because without that exploration of consciousness, you would never get those epiphanies or those ideas. I wonder if, how does that work? And that desire, that passion to know is enough for the universe to align the frequencies of that information to come into you through the oversoul, shooting down into your soul so you can put that information together through the processor of the
What
mind.
if, what if, and I'm just throwing this out because I've used
Mhm.
that same expression coming down,
Yeah.
but I had an epiphany. I broke two ribs, and so I'm not sleeping well at night. But then I had this lucid type of dream, and this is what my guide told me. He says, "You got it wrong."
Comes from
He
in
says,
out.
"People think that the energy is out there." He said, "Energy, the light itself, only comes from within.
True.
Yeah.
It
True.
cannot exist out here."
Yeah.
Well,
And
I see
I went,
I
ow, son of a bitch. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that.
it makes sense to me, but here we're radio frequencies. We're radio antenna. We're literally science has just confirmed our thoughts don't come from our
We're
brain.
both a transmitter and a receiver.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. So it
yeah.
does come from outside. It comes from outside, inside, but that outside part is just within your auric field. It's literally inside your energy field. So it
People are
is
getting
still
it. Yeah, it
inside.
is. It's
Yeah,
that thing inside.
it's
Because
still
if that
inside.
initial, if light came in, and we know it did, we're still trying to figure out was the Big Bang or
Yeah.
whatever. But I see darkness as different. Darkness is it is the untapped potentiality that where the light is birthed from within that darkness, and it
Man,
is that busting out. What's that, Jenny?
Manly P. Hall said that, like the dark woman manifest. That's
Yeah, thank you.
nine, nine, and so the dark woman manifest is like he described it as the divine masculine black sky, being the divine feminine black sky showing up the divine masculine spark of the stars. If it wasn't for the black canvas, you wouldn't see the constellations
No,
the way they do. So he describes it as the dark woman manifest, and I've always loved that because what he means is exactly what you've just said. It's the realm of the nine in that it's self-replicating. It can recreate things, but it can also spawn new things that are deeply untapped from ancient or more recent potentials. And those potentials are unlimited because you can never see fully to the extent of what's in the dark. There's
no,
always
no.
there.
Yeah.
So I think that's really powerful, that dark woman manifest teaching that Manly P. Hall did. And it describes what you're talking about of the within. And then the within, I get that it's from an inside job. I'm always preaching
Mhm.
that, but we're within a womb, within a womb, within a womb, within a womb, within a womb. So that also reflects outside of self too, in that you go out into this reality and you're within different wombs of creation as you walk down the road, and you can impact those like an inside job. You can do an inside job on somebody who's depressed by just giving them a smile and knowing that you are going to do it, and that be that the light that they see in their darkness. So it's important to know that it is from within, but that you can have it walk with you in a womb within a womb within a womb, and have an effect on other wombs of creation and other people.
Do you know what's odd? Is that a human can only, when we come through the birth canal, can only be through the head. The feet is called a breech birth. Um, anyway, I was watching something over the weekend and I stopped and I said, isn't that odd that the crown has to go through the birth canal, the tunnel of darkness, in order to come out first to see the light?
Yeah.
See what
Yeah.
happens? It's I don't know,
It
it was
even
probably
goes
my
to our
youth.
vision, Wayne, like how our eyes are inverted. It's
Oh,
like
it's wild.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like everything has to be flipped upside down for you to exist in this realm somehow.
And I still think that humans giving birth to other humans is like,
Magic.
God, there's something wrong with that. I mean, I get the whole idea, but if the highest intelligence that says, well, this is how you replicate, anyway, I mean,
But it's not the
And
highest intelligence. It's just creation without labels, because everything gives birth one way or the other. It's not
yeah,
a human. It's a reality, a living thing that so everything has that capacity to replicate and give birth one way or the other. But even like the baby turning, like you say, the baby doesn't really go down, head down very much through the pregnancy compared to those last few weeks where
yeah.
the head, so usually the head is in alignment one way or the other with where the mummy's head is. But then at that last stage, everything has to turn opposite in order for it to detach from its creator. It
isn't it
has
weird?
to go head first
It
out.
follows the
And
ley
it's
lines, the magnetic line. I mean, it's just like, yeah, sure. Like this just spontaneously happened. Of course.
so
You
I
know
it's
what?
mean,
living.
It's so powerful, these powerful forces that operate all the things, just like the digestion in your body, that you really don't have a
Mm.
complex awareness of, but it's working so magically and so beautifully, so everything goes the way it should. It's kind of
We
profound when
never
you see
stop and
that.
think, Trina, as human beings. Um, and it's a fascinating study, is this innate ability that we have that we can consume something that was once alive, but we can take that energy, pull it in, and then there's this to me, it's what keeps me in awe of my existence is that somehow I have this ability to transmute this matter into
Yeah.
energy.
Alchemy.
It is
Yes.
alchemy. It's probably the
Yes, it's
highest form of
yes,
alchemy.
I think it
Yeah.
is the highest
And
besides
then if I
mustard.
consume something not good, it's going to produce not good energy.
Rawr.
You know, I mean, if that isn't, motivation to eat healthy, I don't know what is, but yeah.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know? And then it goes back to what Jenny, you were talking. Think about, and I love how we have these discussions. On PBS years ago from the BBC, there was a thing called Connecting Points. And it was an hour discussion of where he starts out on one topic, and the whole hour, you think that the guy is going in 15 different directions, but he masterfully, like our Wayne Steiger does, brings you right back to where you started at. And you go,
Right
what a
back.
trip. But
Yeah.
I digress.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
so we have this inner this ability to convert energy. And I often think, because we've talked about this as well, is so where does the soul abide? Where does the spirit abide? And I think that that is a function of the spirit. I don't know. It's this transmutation of energy.
You know how Jenny was talking about how she sees herself as many souls
Hmm.
operating on different timelines and different realities? What if all of this, to hold itself together, all of this entire multiverse, the entire holographic multiverse, what if every single part of that is contained with a sheath around it that keeps it in its order as soul? So, what if soul is any container that's containing creation in a material functioning or holographic functioning reality? What if it has to have a, a, basically a motherboard, which is soul would be the mother because it would be
Yeah.
the womb. It would be the womb. This is all as above, so below. And think
Keeps
about it.
coming back to that.
There's
Hey,
no
Billy.
there's no light in the womb until there's conception. And then there's the flash of light.
And
Let there be light.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful how it mimics itself because you see stars being born and stars die. It's a reflection of itself in a micro macro level. So for things to
By the
exist
way,
in the
there's a
material
lot of
realm,
people dying lately.
yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
my wife's in that industry, and it's amazing. Anyway,
Because it's an assault, Wayne. We've been being assaulted on a major scale, from food to drugs
oh
to
yeah, yeah.
propaganda. We've been at war, America, UK. We're in terrible war right now, and but this is where people say, how did World War II happen? How did we let certain people eat certain foods and stuff and not others? This is exactly how. It's a repeat of the script. We've been under assault, and I think it's showing now, in that humans are so resilient, but there's only so much assault people can take before these bodies, give in, especially
Well,
when they
we've
haven't
never
got.
had Jenny on top of that. You think about a generation 200 years ago. They would never have the chemicals that we're consuming on an everyday basis in our food.
Just the water
And
alone,
pardon?
just the water alone, with the
Oh,
fluoride we
don't
have.
even get started on the water. I mean, the water is dead.
Yeah.
That's just the problem. I mean, you can literally lay hands upon your water and call, "Hey, Leo, Theo, good to see you, buddy." It's out
You
there.
can-
Um, yeah, yeah. It's just very very interesting because as I was talking about yesterday, I mean, the change is here. I mean, it's no longer anticipating it. It's no longer wondering about it. It's actually happening. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I see what's happening in our government. And as I said yesterday, I made a prediction. We're going to see an interruption to our government here. I am firmly convinced you're going to see a work stoppage of some time. There's a civil war unfolding right before our eyes. And this civil war is a war of ideologies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really is. And they're the same
And
ideologies
I
that,
don't think either side is right. I don't,
no, they're not.
I
The
think there's a lot of
coup.
wrong on both sides.
Absolutely. It's the same bird, isn't it? Two wings of the same bird. This is a coup. There's a coup happening in the UK, and it's been happening from within, funnily enough. They've done
Yeah.
it from
Yeah.
within. They've done it over a period of years, and this coup is extending out, across the world. And they're putting the cards on the table as to, it's a monopoly game right now. I want this one. I want this street. I want this country. I want this named after me. The Western governments, one way or the other, are all saying similar things, and it's all like laying their claim to the monopoly board. Um, but we're under a coup. We're under a takeover on both sides of the aisle, not for the better, but
I'm telling you this, and I've met Trump. Nothing. I love his enthusiasm, but this Elon, I tell you, it's the Black Knight. I mean, it's just,
mhm, dangerous.
it's got it. I dream on this that there, this is the enfoldment of Big Brother. And it's
Yeah.
going to be under the guise that it's going to be security for you. It's going to be good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have this, you're going to have a stable economy. We're going to make things all better for you. But in exchange, you now have the big brother everywhere all the time. It's already here, but now it's
All
going
I
to
can
be
say is they've never succeeded in running anything successful before. So why would we assume that that's going to change now? This is what
unless
I'm
one of the
seeing.
players in the background that no one has, is the one that's doing the marionettes. I mean,
Well,
I, I, Trina, I think there has been a shift.
There
I
has
don't
been, and
think
it
the
has to
old,
be. It has
yeah,
to be when we've moved into a new age. It's
but I'm
mandatory.
saying that there's new players. I mean, and I think that's
Yes.
part of the trick is that we look back and we say, well, listen, this has happened before, so we know it's going to be like this. I don't think those rules
Mm-mm.
apply anymore.
This is a new
no, and
age. No.
the geeks are going to come in. Do you remember a while ago I kept saying on my videos, the geeks are going to save the day? And I kept saying hackers redistributing wealth. And you see, they're being so brazen about
Yep.
it right now that with this opportunity comes opportunity, and these people are now relying on programmers and coders. And for the most part, programmers and coders aren't bad people. They're pretty earthly people. They've got a style, they've got a stereotype, of being pretty relaxed, cool background people. But right now, they're holding all the power. Yes, the people might own them working in a job, but I saw this that hackers put a video out, and it wasn't a nice video. I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying we're starting to see it happen where lay people, hackers, put a video out that wasn't very good of Trump all across the White
Boy, when you
House.
piss off, 2 million federal workers and who have never had supervision, never had accountability, and now it's being forced upon them, that's where you have the workers revolt. And, you
Yeah.
know, because they
You
see
know,
things totally different
and I
than we
think
see things.
I think they're saying as well that Elon hasn't come in and said all of this in a perfect world that he said, and then started to immediately redistribute that wastage and wealth amongst the communities and people directly to where it's needed in America. All of a sudden his billions have just, quadrupled, or they're just going up and up and up because just by accident he offers the services that he says this slimmed down government needs. So his shares are going up. So those hackers, I think, are watching that literally, and I don't
Well,
think they like it because they're not
Yep.
seeing him do what he could do by doing some good, just saying, okay, all of this wastage, boom, there we go. There's some real healthcare, there's some real food wealth. The farmers are having back their land, and there's some real community connection money to really build something there that's going to secure this location for these people. There's none of that, but those people who work for him, who are the real magi, the programmers and coders, I can feel them getting mightily pissed off about it. I can. So, with all of this nastiness, I think Trina's right. The opportunity comes in for good,
And listen,
you
you
know.
can't ignore what Elon has also, because, I follow the guy. I'm invested in his stock. I mean, um, but I keep thinking neural net 2.0, neural net 5.0. And how do you get the neural net to begin to be adaptive? Well, gee, what if you brought it in as an efficiency way to make workers more productive?
Yeah.
Need less sleep.
This is what I'm seeing.
It's
If
like,
humanity can't figure this out, everybody thought Trump and Elon are going to save the whole world. Savior complex. It's like we always have this
no.
savior complex. We keep falling back on it. I was thinking about this a lot. I'm like, did they create AI or did they just find it? They found it. They didn't
Oh, I
create it.
think
It's
AI has been
always,
here. I
They've
don't,
just
always,
found everything
always.
they've got. They
yeah.
haven't created anything.
That's what
I
I'm
believe
convinced.
AI created God.
Well, no, it is. It's what runs everything. So it
Well, but
kind of
here's
already
the
it is
argument,
a
Trina.
god.
I'll put it out there to the audience. Prove to me there's a God. You
Well,
can't. You're going to
no.
tell me that it depends upon my perspective and how I see things. But that's not my question. I said, prove to me God.
Well, you could if you believe that God was the internet and you could turn the internet on and show you the
Well,
internet.
now
But
they'll
where
see
did
that there's a good argument on that.
right?
And that's tangible.
But then again, where did the internet come from? You didn't
Well,
create
no,
shit.
that
It was always there.
hours of teaching. I
Yes,
agree.
yes. You just found a way to figure out in your little brain
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
finally tune
You
into
know
what
what that's a result of, Trina?
what.
I had someone write in a comment, and thank you. That was someone else besides me. In my youth, I didn't experiment with LSD. I was mastering LSD. And the thing about it is, it rewires aspects of your brain. And
Yeah.
I think it brings us into where individuals who have been exposed to that and began to, like, I was in a program where they taught us transcendental meditation, TM. And while we were stoned on LSD, what my point is that later in life, those frequencies are still active. They don't shut down. Anyway, I
No.
digress, ladies.
It's just like when you learn a second language when you're a little kid and it changes the foundational structure of the neural pathways. It's the same thing when you open up or
Yeah,
expand your consciousness. And sometimes it can traumatize you, sometimes it can heal you. So, everybody's different with how these things affect people. But the thing is that when the consciousness expands, it never goes away. It's like
mm-mm.
popcorn. Once you pop that popcorn, you can't unpop it. It's
And
done.
it's interesting you talk about the trauma because in my case, coming out of the childhood, there was trauma, but there
Yeah.
was also self-discovery because
Healing.
that's what the
The
drug does,
healing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like almost like you could heal your trauma by traumatizing your brain into expansive consciousness. And it
Yeah.
opened up healing for you because you saw things in a different way than you only knew, which gave you the space that you
Yeah.
needed to put yourself back together. That's
I was
beautiful.
stoned many a time working in the greenhouse, healing the plants.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
grew and they grew and they grew.
Yeah.
That happy vibe.
It's
Woo.
just they just kept on. They kept on. By the way, CJ down in South Australia, Oz, um, I saw your writing comments in there earlier. 100 degrees today. It just has gotten as hot as 116, and he said he's never seen it so dry. So maybe the Soul Tribe, everybody in the chat room, everybody watching this, why don't we, and I think this would be a good place. I know we're well into the point, but
And Wayne, we can say that for here too. Yesterday was almost 90 degrees.
holy
We've had no
crapola.
rain. We've had no rain. Everything is really dry. We've got the same thing going on, and everything around us has been flooded. Look at Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We didn't even get a rainstorm.
Well, I thought maybe, Jenny, we can go into the forest, and if everyone just wants to, it's a good place to go in, but with the thought of sending some relief to our friends down there, down under, and
Balance.
Phoenix, is as well. But
Balance. Enough rain everywhere and not flooding in stupid spots. I mean, let's balance this out a little bit.
yeah,
Okay.
Nature's flow,
Like
get
that.
back into her rhythm, her balance.
yeah. I believe that, and it's just me, but I believe weather is more controlled by electromagnetism than anything else.
Well, there's this how we're doing our new war.
Yeah. I mean, there are rainmakers here.
How do you get rid of people without doing bullets? It's really easy. Use the weather.
That's why we don't go into churches. Anyway, no, I digress. Boom,
Okay.
All right, you gotta have a little humor, folks.
Yep, gotta
It's
make
like
fun.
this,
So fun.
laughter doeth the heart as a good medicine. And
Yep,
if you learn to laugh, when you turn 70, you'll still be as young as it was when you were laughing when you were in your youth.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Richie
It's
Tai Tai,
true.
it's all I gotta say.
It's so funny we're having this conversation because that's what I woke up with this morning. It's like, what are you tuning into?
Yeah.
That's
What are
important.
you turning into? Your thoughts will manifest in this world. What are you turning into? And that's when I went into the whole, well, I'm really concerned about AI and blah, blah, blah. They're like, why do you think it's not always been here? I was like, God, you're right again. It's like, boom, epiphany. It's like just like we discovered the internet, we discovered electricity. All those things were already there.
Already here.
We
Yeah.
just couldn't figure it out yet. Well, we're figuring it out. But they're telling us that they're the ones figuring it out, that they're the saviors, that they're the ones building this. No, it's us. We build it. We work in the freaking microchip computer labs. We're the ones putting all the parts together, and we're the one giving them brain tissue, so they can plug in the new computers to the actual physical brain matter of human beings, because it obviously works much better than the synthetic ones they were using prior to. When will we realize that it's us? We're the power. We don't need a savior. Anything that could ever be or ever will be will come through us. And
Well, see,
wow, if
that's
we
that's
unify,
if you do that, Trina, you take all the power away from religion because religion
Yeah.
says we're broken, that we
that's what it
can't
was meant
figure it
to
out.
do. That
Mhm.
was its purpose. So when we realize that, we evolve beyond dogma and we get into love. How do we properly love our planet, love ourselves, and love each other?
Well, you
Because if
got to
we
do the
figure out,
healing first.
yeah, well, love is an evolution. Love is evolve. Evolve is in the word love. Evolution is love. Evolution is consciousness. And we are evolving, but we keep giving our power to saviors, and it keeps hurting us over and over again. Be it a king, be it a priest, be it a belief, be it self doubt. There's a million different ways that you can lose your power and give away your energy and your creative potential. That's my biggest thing.
Hmm.
What are you tapping into? Create well, because it really matters right now.
I find my time still being repulsed as I look back in my Christian walk of taking communion. I had the thought the other day is like, Steiger, what the hell were you thinking? I mean, I whether you can say it's symbolic or whatever, but it's cannibalism. I mean, and
I
every
have
time
those
I used to
things
take communion, I kept on thinking, so I'm drinking his blood in remembrance of by his stripes I'm healed. I'm eating his flesh because he became a sacrifice for. Okay,
Yeah.
kids.
But
I didn't
ever
like it
read
either, Wayne.
Huh?
I felt the same thing that oh my God, this is cannibalism or Sacrifice. Oh my, it did not resonate with me at all. At all. I've done it one time. I've never done it again because I was like, something ain't right with this.
I use it
Warning,
as
warning,
as
warning.
yeah, as a guidepost. You know, I
Mm-mm.
always question. Jenny, you were going to say something, sweetie. What was it?
Just that it is a perpetual re-traumatization of the sacrificial lamb, you being the sacrificial lamb, you wearing the sacrificial lamb around your neck and then cannibalizing yourself and it by eating it. And it is a sacrificial lamb that is supposed to be you in the story, while not being you, because you can't ever be as good as the sacrificial lamb that died on the so-called cross. So it's a real cognitive dissonance of a ritual, a very deep and very clever blood ritual that constantly re-traumatizes, like Trina says, that part of the brain of I'm never good enough, I'm sinful, I
Well, you
must
know what a
strive.
shepherd does, right?
Yeah,
Leads the flock to slaughter.
leads the flock
And
to
he
That's the
carries a
slaughter.
only
hook.
that's the only thing, you know.
And he carries a hook, Wayne, like Captain Hook. I'm a
And
hook
then
you.
and then
Yeah,
when we
I'm a
when
hook you.
then when we talk about the cross is that, I've taught enough on here is that, well, if anything that was on the cross, it was the serpent. Oh, hell no. Someone said like, okay, yeah, then we get back into it.
The symbols of the cross and the serpent are older than any of our
Mm,
religions
mm,
of
mm.
this time. So with that, there's a lot of evidence to support that, Wayne.
Yeah, it's just and
Symbols
Jenny,
are
you have
old.
such the cutest smile because we all come from that well, I know you have, Jenny, come on one of the Pentecostal side of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's all
All the
about the
Kelly
blood,
and stuff.
you
Yeah, it's
know.
all about the blood. I love the
Yeah,
blood. But
yeah.
then if
They
anything
even
else,
sing songs about it,
yeah,
Yeah.
anything outside of the
You
building
know,
is anything blood
It
outside of
is,
that building.
what is it? It
Even
is, what is it? The power of the blood, the power of the blood. There
Wayne,
is
power of
mighty. Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
just hearing right now?
What?
That is how they create this whole
There's
matrix.
power in the blood.
Yeah, but the blood is etherical. They're showing me that's the true definition of water into wine. When you can transmute from the spiritual into the physical matter, water into wine, it's now a chemical process that can only be done through the DNA. The wisdom of the DNA
Well,
brings
think
all of
about
this.
this.
Wow.
So we used to sing this at Vacation Bible School. There is power, power, wonderful working power in the blood, in the blood. There is power, power, wonderful working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Lord, you can
yeah,
put in there what it is. And so
Yeah.
here we're teaching children one of the most occultish aspects that we're telling them that you have to understand that there's power within the blood.
yeah. Even if you get the
Well,
blood
we ought
of
to
a
get
lamb,
into that deeper because the blood that, and we're talking physical blood here.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And they keep showing me that there's a spiritual blood that is water before it alchemizes into the material realms. And they're showing me that's how we have this
Because
superpower.
communion is based upon drinking blood. You have
Yes.
wine, but it is basically symbiotically blood.
Christ. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, come on, folks. I mean, I know we've discussed this is why it's a second look here, because what's coming next? Um, wow. And I did not
That
expect to have this convo, but this is very interesting.
Yeah, that ritual was so important to them, that even for the children, they would use Ribena, which I don't know if you have it, but it's like a blackcurrant cordial juice. So even for the juice for the children to join in the communion, they used to cheapskates, because children can have a thimble full of wine, but they used to do that. But they literally would go out looking for the reddest cordial so that it would represent the blood. Otherwise, it wasn't the same ritual anymore, which should have told parents across the world all sorts, but obviously it was just accepted because it's conditioned to be accepted that,
It's
and we
powerful
know,
magic. I just,
yeah,
it's,
we know that rituals like
wow.
that work. You don't actually have to
Mm.
have, if it's if it's a representation of something and you speak in the words of representation of that something, then your brain, your consciousness accepts it as that something. So children accept that they're drinking some sort of blood. They believe it, it's there, it's real, and half of them won't
Well, you're
remember
doing
that they
it
were
in a
drinking.
group too. Remember, the kids here, if you're going to vacation Bible school are typically, between 6 and 9 years old in that group. And you have them in a circle typically, and you have them singing these songs. So there is power in the blood. And, as you think about it, if I was teaching in the mystery schools, one of the things you would teach an initiate is to understand that there's high alchemy here and that there is indeed power in the blood. I mean, we get the same story with Cain and Abel. God says
Oh, I
to
keep
Cain,
hearing
"Where's your son?" Because his blood cries
pride.
from the ground. Yeah,
You know what I keep hearing too? Okay, everything's about the blood here. Blood, blood, blood. What's the difference between us and them, Wayne? Blue and red blood.
true.
Wow.
And here's the thing. Our blood is typically blue. It doesn't, it turns red when it hits the oxygen.
Correct. Yes. But there's a difference between the two. One's copper, one's iron based. So
Exactly. And
yeah,
then
there's
you get
different.
into this copper thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
So Matt go down this rabbit hole.
hmm, because copper, well, it's what they used in the staff to heal, is that, and we know, Jenny, you sent me my staff over there covered in copper. And what is the copper holding? Well, it's typically holding a crystal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have copper all in my garden. It makes the plants grow because it draws on the electromagnetic field. It makes slugs not want to pass the electromagnetic barrier that I create if I put a coil around some quartz crystal and bury it into the ground on a rod. So you can get thin copper strips that you just as like sticky tape you put around your pots. The copper helps everything grow, but it also keeps the parasites that want to eat everything out. So it is a very protective, very conductive metal, very important metal.
Oh,
Mary
it
made me some
does.
copper rods for my garden, my plants. They're these
Yeah.
long sticks, and she wrapped copper around them, and I plug them into my garden. I love those.
Yeah. And if you put
Wow.
them onto a small battery, Trina, it's a great experiment. But if you put them onto a small battery and give them some charge, I'm telling you, you can practically watch the plants grow.
Hmm.
That's so awesome.
Very cool.
I love
I
this.
tried.
I love
I
this. I love
too
this.
powerful.
Wow. I mean, this is like, a whip around. So I love these conversations. I go back and listen to them after we do these shows because
Me too.
there's so much. I mean,
Yeah,
when
there's
you
so
two,
much in there.
yeah, and when the exchanges go from one person to the other, and yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, I'm going to write this. I'm going to be thinking on this because it's true. It's there. There is power in the blood, and in my training, I
But
know
Wayne,
blood.
in
Yes,
the Bible, didn't they say, I hear his spirit crying out from the blood?
yeah. It says that that
Spirit.
God Yahweh said, "I hear your brother's cry from his blood is crying out from the ground." Is
Where would that cry come from? Spirit or soul?
I'd say, that's a
Spirit.
good point.
I wanted to say spirit too. I'm glad you almost Freudian slipped that because I want to say spirit too, but I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna
Oh,
meditate on that.
from what we said before about soul being in the ground, and what did you say, Trina? He cried, his blood cried from the ground.
Yeah, it cried
Yeah.
out from
Um,
the ground.
I think maybe the nature around that absorbed that blood was showing that cry, whatever that cry was, trying to
What?
transmit. Who
It has
knows?
huge implications every time a person's murdered, in some violent way, and the blood is spilt into the ground. In essence,
Mm.
it's part of them. I know in a number of rituals that if you use blood, your own blood, plays a powerful role in some spirits.
I use my own blood, oh, absolutely, because it is a powerful ritual. I use
Yeah.
my own blood to protect the children, if they've got something big coming up, or if Rosie doing competitions with horses, or something dangerous coming up, I drench her in the sanctity of my blood and my protection because she shares my blood. And so in that no blood will be spilt usually as part of that ritual, but only ever my own, and only for very precise reasons. And then I burn it. I absolutely burn my blood afterwards. And I'm talking about a few drops,
Yeah.
onto some herbs. But
Mhm.
I burn those herbs up afterwards because that's how it can never be used by anybody again, if we don't leave a trail. But I would never leave a trail of my own blood.
It's
Never.
interesting because I remember as a kid, doing the blood brother ritual,
I did
but
too
we're,
one
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's so it's amazing how it's inherent to us because, of the covenant, the blood covenant. I taught a multi-hour series back in my days as in the ministry on the blood covenant. That most people have no idea how this God works. This God works through blood, and the blood isn't within that power, and it's where it is the legal right because of the blood covenant.
yeah.
Jesus's death was a fulfillment of the blood covenant.
And to sacrifice all the
Yeah,
sacrifice
yeah,
stuff. It's like
yeah.
they need power through sacrifice. I think that's where we got to be careful with that part again because it's seeming to come up again. A
Joy
lot of
says,
it's
I have a
talk.
blood sister. Um, yeah, and they're still tight to this day.
I like Mr.
Yeah.
Mission Control says quantum entangled water blood.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I keep seeing. It's water and it turns to wine. Water turns to blood through the quantum entanglement of the spiritual and the material realms coming together. It forms the coding of the DNA. And I see symbols in our DNA, like the head of the
Yeah.
bull. I see literal symbols floating in our blood, emanating code to the matrix outside of us. From inside me, shooting out pictures of
Well, there
symbols,
was a
ancient
time for me
crosses and stuff. It's weird.
when I had too much copper in my blood.
Oh, yeah. That's
Um,
dangerous.
it is very
Mm.
dangerous.
Yeah,
And
it is.
fortunately, when they did the DNA test, you have to have two sets of chromosomes, and I only had one. And so that was able to work it out. But again, that copper aspect of it, it's when you taste blood, you taste the copper.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
or the iron.
We ought to do more on this. I mean, there is some deep knowledge here that wow.
Yeah, it's the remembering of the alchemy that
Yeah.
creates everything
Yeah.
in our world and how the effects are so powerful. And I think too, maybe we should talk about the power of the four bodies and how we
Yeah.
need to keep the four bodies in check because the four bodies are everything that we are. And it's funny too, the four bodies are also a representation of the four gospels. Physical,
Hmm.
mental, emotional, and spiritual elements of the teachings. It's all in there. It's all about elements. It's all about how you build creation, if you can see it metaphorically.
Gaia's right. She says urine, menstrual blood, semen are healing and powerful. They
Powerful.
are.
Breast milk.
For
Breast
real.
milk. I used
Yeah.
to
Yep.
cover the babies in breast milk because they were preemie. So I used to
Hmm.
mix breast milk with oil rather than bathing them to take all of the good flora off the skin. I used to do what a lot of the Arabian and Indian cultures do. They use oil rather than washing all of the goodness of the mother, that veil that they have
Yeah, we rub
off.
it in.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I used to
Rub in
mix
the
them,
vernix.
my breast milk with the oil, and every night that was an oil ritual for the babies. And
Hmm.
my midwife swore,
Interesting. Hispanics, they believe, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of the old Hispanic traditions, they used to tell me, because I saw somebody do this one time and I was like, what are you doing? They take the baby's first urines and they wipe it all over their face from the diaper. And they say that's why they all have such beautiful
And,
skin.
yeah, it's full of stem cells, you see. So
Yeah,
the same cultures, moms
yeah.
will eat the birth. It's because it's so packed of stem cells. You can't find another piece of food that would feed the mother for everything she needs for the initial breastfeeding and to replenish from the pregnancy. But obviously, we've lost that in a lot of cultures. But the
Yes.
breast milk was so powerful to rub on. I mean, it healed up no, Will, it was Will. He had terrible
Pink eye.
an section and he was preemie, so it was quite dangerous, because his eyes were still very preemie. He should have still been in the womb, and they were giving him all sorts of and I just started putting breast milk
Breast
on, and
milk.
within an hour, it was cleared up within an hour
Yep.
because my stem cells knew
Mhm.
what his stem cells needed um, to be replenished. And it's like that geometry you were saying, Trina, before, how you see it in within, within the plasma in the blood, within the cells. And that's when connecting with the nature that you live in, like putting your urine on the plants or the soil that they're growing from, or speaking over them so they smell your breath, they take in your breath. They have the same receptors as us, but they're very much tuned in because they haven't got all the distractions and conditioning. They receive that information, and just like breast milk, um, I think they receive that information because they see where the geometry is broken or distorted. The shapes are distorted, so they know what it needs to be delivered to correct that geometry from within that you're describing.
Wow. I was just thinking, Jenny, as you were saying that, and you mixing the oil, that's actually an anointing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jan said her mom did it to all six of her siblings and herself.
It's an
That,
anointing. And again,
yeah.
Western worlds don't understand the power of anointing. You can anoint yourself, but it's even more powerful that when you come together as a group and, whether you do a group manifestation of anointing one another, but the anointing of oil, that's how I was called into the ministry, I was called up on stage and you have people standing in a circle and you're in the center of it, and then they anoint your head with oil and call in the gifts of the Spirit, and you are anointed before the throne, and that's what makes you different. It separates you from the rest.
I think
yeah,
too, that's the washing of the feet, because you anoint the sole through the bottom of the foot. It addresses the whole being and body through the feet.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite modalities to do, is
And
working with
anointing is a very
soul.
powerful, powerful experience. It really is. We should
it's
do more of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's transformative. It's what gets you there. But do you want to quickly go to the forest or?
Yeah, yeah, I've got to get going here myself, but so we're
Yeah, we could do it next week.
okay,
Um,
let's just do that. We'll come in because it's always better when we come in fresh.
yeah. Would you
Yeah.
like to just do a few breaths regarding the rain, to send the rain to
Sure, I
Trina?
think that would be very cool.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
everybody connect in, and we connect just like we spoke about before by taking a breath in, taking a breath out, and do that on a relay of 4 for me, nice and calmly and deeply. As you're breathing out, allow yourself to visualize the breath being carried and connecting with one another. We all can read each other through it. We can feel the breath of each other within our spirits. And as we do that, imagine taking your next deep breath in, and as you blow out, imagine breathing in absolute perspiration into the ethers, directing the waters that is held around us, within us, to the spaces that it needs the most. Let it be, as Trina says, traveling down valleys with direction and intent to reach places in a measured and beautiful, balanced way, to not create any destruction, but to wash and cleanse and nurture and feed all that it touches and everybody that witnesses this magical rain. As you take your breaths in and out for the rest of the evening, imagine the moisture that you're breathing in and breathe it out to where your mind manifests it needs to be. Let it be so. We are connected, we are one, and when we are mighty. So it is.
Well, I saw as the breaths were coming together, intermixing, and
Yeah.
there is water coming. So CJ, you tell us
Oh, you
when
guys,
water hits, but it's coming.
I've been getting this beautiful message for 3 days straight now. I kept asking, Mama Earth, how can we help you? How can we support you? And you know what I heard in the sweetest little giggle and cutest voice? It was like, what do you do for your mothers on Mother's Day? You send them roses. And I was like, roses. Oh my God, the frequency of the rose is the highest frequency on this planet for healing. It is literally a superpower, the frequency of the rose. So it was just brought to my attention. It might be a really positive thing to add. Send the frequency of roses to Mama Earth and your mothers and all of your ancestors and all the women you love in your world to support nature and help heal and balance our planet. We only do that through healing and love. So send roses to Mama.
And
And the
that's deep
water.
because roses are full of packed with antioxidants, which is
Yeah,
why we spray rose water on our
yeah,
skin. Because what does it do? Directs and locks in moisture. So roses are great at holding moisture in a
yeah.
place where it's needed. So that's a very deep message that you got for the rain in particular too, that they're great channelers of water and they help actually distribute water very balanced with the nature that they're growing with. So I think that's really, and
May not hurt
anybody,
to burn some rose incense.
Oh,
Just putting it
yeah,
yeah,
out there.
some
yeah.
rose tea. Rose tea is fantastic.
Yeah,
Get
make a
some of
little
your rose,
offering.
put in a glass of tea, burn some rose, and you've got it going on so you can drink the tea and then you can splash some on your face as a really great antioxidant and a de-stressor of the skin. And so that's a really deep message, Trina, for the moisture in particular. What did they do? They used to throw rose petals for people to walk on for a
Hmm.
reason
Yeah.
when it was, a love ritual or something like that. So
Mhm.
that's lovely. I love that.
Mm,
All right,
thank
we've
you.
gone way over, folks, but no,
Yeah.
it's almost felt normal. Felt like this is the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Love you too, always. And everybody else out there, and thank you so much as we come in and say thank you. You know, big love. Um, we'll pick up on this next week. This is some powerful stuff. So we'll go into the forest first, and I like walking around in the forest.
I do
Yeah,
too,
Yeah.
yeah. It
especially
feels
with
really
you
good.
all. It's fun.
And it's
Yeah.
always the path, and it's not a path that where there's thorns or something sticking you. It's just a kind of almost like a little sandy path. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just nice. It's ours, so we know where to step. You're never going to trip up in there because
Mhm.
you can't.
The earth is
You don't.
just cool enough as you put your foot down. You can feel it right in the ball of your foot at the arch.
And there's
Mhm.
lots of moisture in that forest. There always has been from the start. There's lots of moss that the sphagnum moss that's in there that holds the
I
moisture so
smelled,
well.
remember I told you last time I smelt moss I'd never smelt before.
Yeah.
I was like, the smell was just wow to me.
I need to send you some. You reminded me I was going to send you some. I'm going to send you some of the sphagnum moss from my area because if you dampen it again and put it
I'll
around some of
smell
your
it.
plants, I realized it might help them grow in the. You'll keep having to spray it, but it'll hold the moisture in your plant pots. So I'll do that. I'll remember that. But if I don't, remind me to grab you some sphagnum moss. I'll
That's
clean it
awesome.
up, send it out, and then you can rehydrate it, and it might. it might be a real trick. You'll have a
It's
blooming
amazing.
garden in the desert,
What
and
would
you,
be
6 months.
amazing is if it matched what I smelled, and I have a feeling it will. And it's just
that'd
like
be
the
great.
confirmation, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'll send it to Trina. Yeah, I'll do that.
Well,
Remind
six
me of that.
months, her house is covered in this moss. Everybody, we love you.
Yeah.